Now on to this federal email, the story everyone's requesting. On Saturday, the Office of Personnel Management sent an email to federal employees asking them to list 5 things they accomplished last week. The subject line reads, "What did you do last week?" The body of the email instructed employees to reply with 5 bullet points summarizing their work accomplishments from the previous week and to CC their managers, but also cautioned employees not to include any classified information, links, or attachments. The response deadline was set for today, Monday, at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Importantly, the email did not say what would happen if employees chose not to respond to the email. However, Elon Musk, despite having no decision-making authority, wrote on X that failure to respond would be taken as resignation. So let's talk a little bit about the OPM, what role it plays in the government, what authority it has, and how Elon Musk factors into this entire situation. The Office of Personnel Management, or the OPM, is an independent agency of the federal government that operates under the direction of the president and manages the federal workforce. This includes overseeing federal employee policies, benefits, hiring practices, etc. It's basically the HR department for the government. The OPM does not hire or fire employees outside of the OPM. It can recommend that outside departments issue layoffs, but it cannot actually issue layoffs itself. Elon Musk does not have a role within the OPM, but his role as a special government employee grants him the ability to contribute his expertise from the private sector to public service initiatives. This means he can offer his opinion and his thoughts, but he doesn't have any decision-making power himself. However, because of his influence he's had over the government's decisions since Inauguration Day, people are concerned that if they don't respond to the OPM email, they may be fired by their respective agencies and departments, per Musk's suggestion. Musk followed up his post on X regarding termination with another post that said, quote, "To be clear, the bar here is very low. An email with some bullet points that make any sense at all is acceptable. Should take less than 5 minutes to write," end quote. So can the OPM demand 5 bullet points? That is the question. Since the email was sent out, some federal departments have instructed their employees to ignore the email, at least for now, while they await more guidance. At least one department has instructed employees to respond to the email, and one lawsuit has been filed. So here's what we know. The Pentagon, the DOJ, the State Department, the Department of Energy, and multiple agencies within these departments, as well as other agencies like the CDC, the NOAA, and the IRS, have instructed their employees to wait for legal guidance before responding. The State Department told its employees that the department would respond to the email on behalf of the employees and said in a message to the workers within the department, quote, "No employee is obligated to report their activities outside of their department chain of command," end quote. The newly confirmed FBI Director Kash Patel also told FBI employees not to respond, saying, quote, "The FBI, through the Office of the Director, is in charge of all of our review processes and will conduct reviews in accordance with FBI procedures. When and if further information is required, we will coordinate the responses. For now, please pause any responses," end quote. The Department of Veterans Affairs, on the other hand, told its employees that the email is quote unquote valid and reiterated the OPM's message that the response to the email is not to include any classified, HIPAA, or personally identifiable information. The lawsuit says that the OPM's email is unlawful. A group of federal unions argue that because the OPM's email had not been announced in advance in the Federal Register as a policy or program, it does not comply with federal regulations. So the Federal Register is the official publication for federal rules, proposed rules, notices by and for federal agencies and organizations, as well as executive orders and other presidential documents. It's updated every weekday by 6 a.m. Now, the thing about the Federal Register is that the federal agencies have to follow certain rules. And under the Federal Register Act, rules and notices that have a substantial impact on the public must be filed with the Office of the Federal Register to be enforceable. This allows the public to have time to review and comment on a proposed policy before it's finalized. So the unions argue that federal employees have never been required to submit any reports regarding their work to the OPM until now, and therefore it's a new policy that should have been published in the Federal Register, and because it wasn't, it cannot be enforced. However, the argument on the other side of that is that this new policy does not have a substantial impact on the public and therefore isn't required to be published beforehand.